YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Koozie, and welcome back to the channel. This week's video is going to be on sensitivity for both inputs, okay? Now, before I go any further, sensitivity is all subjective, which means what I have set for my sensitivity works for me. It may not work for you. So, this video is to help just give you a baseline, help you get a better understanding of how sensitivity works if you don't really understand it. There's going to be timestamps in the description because I am covering both keyboard and mouse and controller. So, yeah, that's there to help you. But before I go any further, make sure to drop a like if you do enjoy the video today. If you want to come back to the channel to find some more content, make sure to hit that subscribe button with notifications on. And before I go any further, drop a comment down below. Let me know what sensitivity you run and what input you play on. Do you play on controller? Do you play on keyboard or mouse? What's the deal, bro? Okay, so without further ado, enough pitter patter, chitter chatter, let's get into the video. Okay, so keyboard or mouse, let's start. Before we get into any kind of game settings, we need to talk about macro settings for your mouse, okay? So your mouse has its own sensitivity in the PC called DPI. DPI stands for dots per inch, and what that means is whatever that number is set on is however many quote-unquote dots your mouse has to travel for it to travel an inch, if that makes sense. So basically, the higher your DPI, the more sensitive your mouse is going to be. You'll have to move it less to move it further. However, whenever it comes to FPSs that require a lot of like control and stuff, the lower the better. Okay, so I play with 800 DPI on, but just for educational purposes, if I were to cut this on where it's just some bullshit big ass number like 6,000 and I set it to it, okay, so we have this, and I mean I aim with my arm, okay? A lot of people play with the wrist, and that's cool, but I aim with my arm, so the lower sensitivity for DPI is better for me. But if you're a wrist player, go with a little bit higher DPI, but again, for educational purposes, I wouldn't recommend running 6,000, but just to show you the difference. So this is on 800 DPI. I'm moving my arm pretty quick, as you see in the camera. If I switch it to 6,000, you see how much further that's moving? It's ridiculous. Anyways, so that's that. So a lot of players run on 800 or even 400 DPI. I think 400 is too low. I played on 1500 for the longest time, and then I bumped it down to 800, and I found a lot better results with my performance. And just to kind of break down the hardware that I got a Corsair Harpoon RGB mouse with a K65 Lux keyboard. I love this TKL design, bro. It's so much better. All right, so let's jump into game settings, okay? So let's go to options. So again, as I said in the intro, sensitivity is all subjective, okay? So maybe you like 800 DPI, but you like having a lot more, like a lot quicker movement in game. Well, what I have set here is 2.9 for the mouse sensitivity. And then if you go and click advanced, your vertical sensitivity multiplier is set to 1 by default. I have this ground vehicle sensitivity multiplier set to 1.5. And that's because you use your mouse to move the camera, obviously. And then air vehicle sensitivity multiplier. First of all, I hate flying a heli on mouse and keyboard. It's so hard, and I would recommend bumping this up to 2. Otherwise, you're going to constantly be moving your mouse to you know, control the heli and stuff. Tablet sensitivity multiplier is really only going to apply if you're playing multiplayer. So I just left that at 1. Now your ADS mouse sensitivity. I am struggling to say sensitivity today, so just bear with me there. I have it set to legacy. It's set to relative by default, but if you click advanced, your ADS sense multiplier, what this is whatever this is set to, this is going to multiply your overall sensitivity, and whatever that total is going to be what your sensitivity is while you're ADSing. And so, for instance, I don't know what 0.65 times 2.9 is because I'm stupid, but if it's below 1, it's going to be slower, okay? And when you're ADSing, obviously that's when you're shooting predominantly, so you want to go for something that's a little bit slower so you can have a little bit more control. A lot of guys just keep it at 1.1, and that's cool. Me personally, I like it a little bit slower so I can have more control. But 0.65 for both low and high zoom. ADS sensitivity transitioning is set to gradual over time by default, and what that means is the second you hit right click to aim in, it's going to gradually go down to that sensitivity. Okay, whereas if you go instant, which is what I would recommend, the second you right click to aim in, you're gonna have that ADS sensitivity. Okay, monitor distance coefficient, I think that's set to whatever it is because I can't change it. So we collapse that. Invert mouse look is obviously disabled because who plays on inverted? If you do, you're psycho. Let me know in the comments below if you do. That's crazy. Mouse acceleration, I would just keep this at 0 because it's supposed to like accelerate your aim speed to make it more like precise. I wouldn't run this, honestly. On top of that, I think it might hit your frames too, but don't quote me on that. Mouse filtering, I have that set to 0. I'm not sure exactly what it's set to by default. As well as mouse smoothing, this kind of can fuck with your aim a little bit because it like manipulates your mouse movement in game. And a lot of times you don't get that one-to-one like true feel. Okay, slide behavior, this is important if you're wanting to slide cancel like properly. Okay, it's set to hold by default, set it to tap. That way instead of holding control or whatever the default keybind is, you can just tap it and then you start sliding. Okay, crouch behavior set to toggle by default. I would keep it that way. Prone behavior, same thing, keep it on toggle. Automatic airborne mantle, that's your preference. I have it set to disable because a lot of times it will screw you over in game. Sprint tactical behavior, toggle, obviously. Who wants to hold down sprint the entire time they're moving? Automatic sprint. Okay, so as I said in the intro, I think there was a time where I was playing mouse and keyboard, but now I play on controller just because aim assist is so broken. So what I would recommend is having this set up to the best movement possible. Okay, so you want to have automatic sprint set to automatic tactical sprint. And I'm not cracked and I'm not the best player, but I do play this game a lot, so I know a lot about the game, and I do plan on putting out a movement guide probably next week, so that's gonna be fun. Parachute auto deploy, make sure to keep this on, dude. Okay, speaking from experience, you will break your legs. Okay, I mean, honestly, if you want to risk it and ensure that you can get to the ground quicker without having to pull your chute sooner, you can disable this, but you got to make sure that you pull your chute, otherwise you're going to be breaking your legs. Hold the U's, please keep this off. Nobody wants to hold F to, open up something or whatever, you know what I'm saying? All right, now let's get into keybinds. Same thing with sensitivity, dude. This is subjective. This is literally what works best for you. Now, again, I showed you what I have as far as equipment goes. The previous keyboard I had was the K60, or I don't know. It's the very first Corsair keyboard that's cheap. It's got the macro keys on the side. I don't remember which one it is, but my keybinds were different for that one because you had WASD, and then over here you had the line of macro keys, so I could just move over and select something that was comfortable there. But again, this is all subjective. It's whatever's comfortable for you. That's why I recommend getting into private matches with bots to try out new keybinds, try out new sensitivities to see what works best for you. But I'm gonna go through them just so you can have maybe if you're wanting to change it up, you can build something off of this template. Okay, auto move forward or move forward is set to W, obviously WASD, pretty standard. Auto run, which is something that controller doesn't have, which is interesting. Auto move forward is defaulted to H. Move backward, WASD right there. Okay, use it's F. Jump stand mantle is space. And then I have a secondary bind for left control. You'll see why that's left control and not crouch. Crouch, slide, and prone, you want to leave that alone because change stance and slide is kind of the all the almighty one, pretty much. This not only allows you to crouch and go prone, but this is also your slide keybind. And what I have it set to is I have it set to this forward. Well, you can't see it. I have it set to my forward thumb mouse button, so mouse button 5. Advanced, I don't have anything there. Sprint, tactical sprint, steady aim. This is set on left shift, which I think is default. Okay, everything else is left blank. Weapons and equipment. Depleted ammo switch. This is basically whenever you're shooting your gun and your gun runs out of ammo, it'll automatically switch to your other weapon. I would keep that on just because it'll do it for you rather than you having to remember to do it. And plus, just make sure you're reloaded. KW. Switch weapon minimum delay set to 0. I think it's set to like, I don't know, but make sure it's a 0 because you want the least amount of delay whenever it comes to switching. Weapon switch wraparound is enabled because I think this is just a graphic thing. Weapon mount activation, you can either have this set to one of these or you can have a dedicated keybind for it. Weapon mount movement exit, this is basically like if you're mounted, you can press WASD and it will exit it for you. And make sure that your weapon mount exit delay is set to 0. ADS behavior, hold, obviously. I mean, unless you're more comfortable doing the toggle, that basically means you'll have to right click to aim in, and then you'll have to right click again to aim out or to exit ADS. I would just keep this on hold, bro. Change zoom, toggle hybrid behavior. That's going to be whatever your sprint, tactical sprint, and steady aim keybind is. Equipment behavior is going to be set to hold. This is like if you're holding a stun grenade or a frag, you just hold your keybind for that specific equipment and you won't throw it. I would recommend keeping this on hold so you can cook frags, or if you just want to hold a stun while you're waiting for somebody to come around a corner or something. But anyways, keybinds for weapons and equipment. Fire weapon, left click. ADS, right click. That's obviously left blank. It should probably, you can change it. Obviously, I don't know what it is by default, but unless you want to like change zoom, I think it's the same thing as this. And I just have it set to my left shift, which is the sprint, tactical sprint, steady aim keybind. Reload is R. Next weapon is 1. Now, again, I have a secondary keybind, and it is my switch weapon, which is my rear thumb mouse button, if that makes sense. So if I need to switch, which when you're playing Warzone, you do switch weapons a lot. So it's just more convenient for me to hit my lower thumb mouse button. Weapon mount I have set to left alt, so I can just move my thumb off of my spacebar over to my alt key and it'll mount. Alternate fire, nobody really uses this, so you can honestly delete that, but whatever your preference. Melee, what I have it set to is I've got my mouse wheel up and down set to melee. So if I want to just melee, I can just scroll up or scroll down on my mouse wheel. Lethal equipment I have set to Q. Tactical equipment I have set to E. I don't know why I have it set to T as a secondary as well, but here we are. Field upgrade, that's going to be X. Mission ability doesn't really apply for Warzone. Weapon inspect is I. Decrease zoom is J. Change loadout 1 is number pad 1, which I don't have a number pad, so here we are. Kill streaks and vehicles. Vehicle camera recenter disable. I would honestly, it's preference, honestly. I think I turned this off because I didn't like how after a certain amount of time it automatically moves the camera for you. I like to be in control of that. Kill streak, all of these are respective. So kill streak 4 through 1 is numbers 3 through 6. Kill streak munition wheel is K. I think that's default. Use armor plate set to 4. You can change this to something more convenient if you want. I don't really have a problem with it. Center vehicle camera is up and down on the mouse wheel. And then this is all just your driving stuff. We can just kind of scroll through these. I haven't really changed anything. A lot of these just came linked from my movement keybinds. I haven't really touched this, to be honest with you. All right, overlays and shortcuts. Nothing too different here. I'm not sure what this is set on by default, the map behavior, but I have set mine to toggle. So I could press hold, but Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't really play keyboard and mouse anymore, but in the event that I have the urge to get back into it, map cursor is enabled. Inventory, you want to hold. That's pressing tab. System key behavior operating system. So that's your Windows key. Basically, if you have it set to operating system, it's going to listen to your PC, and if you have it set to game, it's going to listen to the game pretty much. So if you have it set to game, the game handles the system key. This prevents the key from opening the system taskbar while the game is in focus. All right, so in multiplayer, tab is to show your score, view objectives, same for campaign. Tab shows your objectives. Show map, I have set the caps lock. I think M is the default. I just have it there for, again, because it's more convenient or comfortable for me. Ping for me is click middle mouse button. That's just I found that to be the easiest way to ping. I'm not sure exactly what the default is, but text chat, blah blah blah. Open inventory is set to tab for me. Again, it has all of these cool little like arrow keybinds if you want to, you know, find a little shortcut there. But anyways, voice chat, push to talk is whatever it is. I think it's set to T by default. I have it set to menu because I have a foot pedal, so I don't really need to worry about that. F9 is to mute voice chat. If you want to mute the entire sound, that's F10. Options menu is going to be F3. These are just shortcuts, okay? And then menu navigation. Accept notification, these are all just shortcuts. Full screen is F, unbind key is delete, confirm selection is space, navigate to previous tab Q, navigate to next tab is E, navigate up, and contextual menu action 1 is on R. I have not touched these, bro, so yeah. The big thing is just worrying about mouse sensitivity and your movement, so make sure that you're good there, okay? All right, so we talked about sensitivity, we talked about keybinds. Now let's talk about a little bit of tips and tricks in game. We're going to be talking about recoil control. So I'm going to fire up this game. I have it set up to where it's free for all with one bot, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're here and we're going to be talking about recoil control. Okay, I just have one bot set up and there he is. Okay, so on mouse and keyboard it's different. If you want to control your recoil, it's not like controller where you just hold one spot on the left stick. You have to aim in and literally pull down as you go. Now that was a bit dramatic, but you get the point. Okay, so this is not like a tips and tricks for like movement and stuff like that, but you just want to have it set to where you're comfortable, okay? And if I want to work on controlling the recoil, I gotta find the guy first. But you just basically right click, hold it, and then pull down. Now, one thing I do like about mouse is that it's so sensitive and it's so precise, okay? So right there, all I did was I just aimed in, I pulled down. Now, one thing I will say regarding sensitivity is you want to make sure, again, the sensitivity is good for you. So whatever you're comfortable with. So if you're aiming in on a guy and your aim is literally just like that, you obviously want to slow down your ADS speed. But another thing that helps is focusing more on using your mouse when you're aiming in to control your vertical movement, and using your A and D keys to kind of sway side to side to help with that, like, I guess, left and right aiming, if that makes sense. So you use your A and D keys to strafe to kind of limit the amount of movement left and right that your mouse has to do, and that way you can just focus solely on your mouse being for controlling the vertical recoil. And that, to me, that ever since I started doing that just makes it a whole lot easier. Now this isn't like a bot set to like veteran level, but right there, that's all you got to do. Okay, so controller, let's talk about it. First of all, let me break down what I use. Okay, this is a SCUF USB controller that is plugged directly into my PC. I don't run Cronus because if you do, you're a Papega. What I do have is I have a standard PS4 controller. I prefer these. A lot of people use the Xbox Series controllers, and that's completely fine. It's all preference again. And again, like I said in the intro, like I said in the keyboard and mouse section, if you did watch that, you're going to hear this again. But sensitivity is all subjective. I also mentioned in the keyboard and mouse section that I'm struggling to say sensitivity for some reason today, so bear with me. But I have a standard PS4 controller. And I have a couple additions to it. I have some Control Freak FPS Infernos added for better control when aiming and moving and stuff. And then I have the PlayStation back button adapter. Okay, nothing special here. Like I said, I don't run any kind of mods or anything like that. The only mods I have are these physical modifications rather than any kind of like hacks and shit. I don't do that. Don't cheat, bro. That's just weird. So first of all, let's talk about controller here. Okay, I'm gonna go through each thing and then I'll touch on dead zone and your sensitivity at the end here. Okay, so button layout preset I have set to tactical. This basically allows me to use my right stick to slide rather than my circle button, and it just basically flips the R3 and circle. Stick layout preset is set to default. Invert vertical look, say it with me, disabled. Okay, don't run this on inverted unless, I mean, you're feeling really frisky. Okay, if you play on inverted, bro, you're a different breed. Okay, we're gonna come back to dead zone and sensitivity here. Okay, I will say aim response curve type, set it to dynamic. It is set to standard, and there's a lot of YouTubers that go in depth on this. I'm not gonna go in depth. This is just pretty much the baseline of what you want to do. You want to set it on dynamic. Honestly, I would say cut controller vibration off, because even though it is a little bit more immersive, I would recommend having it off so you're not having a controller shaking in your hands while you're trying to aim. Okay, aim assist is set to standard. Why would you disable it? I know one person in my life that plays with aim assist off and he's cracked. Okay, so yeah, unless you're that person, keep it on standard. Okay, precision is less aim assist. It kind of slows down, right? So if this is standard, right, it engages about right here from the player's head. This is the player's head. Precision engages about right here. Okay, so it's a lot quicker slowdown. Focusing is way too strong. I wouldn't recommend it, even though the description does say a strong aim slowdown that kicks in when narrowly missing a target, best for players new to analog. I would just keep this on standard, that way you get used to it. If you're on PC, scale aim assist with FOV, turn this on. I did a little bit of a span of time where I did play with this disabled. It just feels too clunky, and honestly, at range, you don't get aim assist if you have this disabled. At least I didn't feel like I did. I feel like I hit more shots now with it enabled, so make sure to keep this enabled if you're on PC. Weapon mount activation, I have this set to double tap ADS, so all I got to do is just press L2 real quick. Weapon mount movement exit, this is where if you are mounted, you can move your left analog stick and you will exit it. ADS behavior, you want to have that set to hold, just to kind of give it more of a realistic feel. You can toggle it if you want to, but that means you have to hit L2 to aim in, and you have to hit L2 to exit, or whatever I say L2, I mean this button right here, which will be left trigger for Xbox controllers, as well as L1 and R1 are LB and RB on Xbox. Use reload behavior. This one is huge to have if you don't have it already. You want to have it on contextual tap, because this is going to make sure that you're not having to hold square to reload your weapon, but the tap square to open up a crate. You want to just have this on contextual tap. It's just easier that way. Depleted ammo weapon switch. This basically swaps weapons whenever you are whenever your primary gun is out of ammo. I would just keep that enabled. All right, now I'm not cracked I'm not the best player in the game, but I do play this game a lot, so I know a little bit about it. I know a lot about the metas and all that stuff. So what I would recommend, this is not a movement tutorial. I will be doing a movement tutorial probably next week, so make sure you are subscribed if you want to come back for that. Also, if you want to come check me out live, I'm live over on Twitch Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, okay? Twitch.tv/itscoozy, okay? Anyways, slide behavior. This is set to hold by default. What I would recommend doing is setting this on tap, because if you want to slide cancel properly, this setting allows you just to click R3, then you're sliding, okay, and then you can just click it again to cancel it. Whereas if you have it set to hold, you're gonna be literally just holding slide and going, and that's not really it. Auto move forward I have set to disabled. Now automatic sprint is set to disabled as well by default, but you want to have it set to automatic tactical sprint, or automatic tactical sprint. Vehicle camera recenter, and I'll get into more in depth next week whenever I cover my movement tutorial. Vehicle camera recenter is set to enabled. Parachute auto deploy, you want to have this on, bro, because otherwise, if not, you're going to be breaking your legs. Just point blank and simple, okay? So parachute auto deploy is set to enabled, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fire up a private match. I'm not gonna have a bot in this one, just so I can kind of break down sensitivity and dead zone and all that stuff. So let me get that set up, and then we'll jump right into it, okay? So let's get started. First of all,
kill, evade, survive.
Don't yell at me, sir. Okay, so first of all, before we cover any kind of sensitivity, you want to start with dead zone. Dead zone is basically a imaginary radius that's set in the dead center of your left and right analog stick. That the higher it is, the bigger that radius is going to get. And what that does is that radius controls how far your stick has to move before it reads that the stick is engaged, if that makes sense. So this is, I thought for the longest time this was not only to help with drifting, but also to help with like aim and stuff. No, if you just treat it like you are using it to stop drifting, because over time your stick, especially if you have like an older controller like mine, there's going to be wear and tear on the sticks that happens, and you're gonna deal with drifting. Drifting is basically where you're sitting here and you're not touching your stick, and it just moves ever so slightly, okay, like that. I like barely touched it. So what you want to do for dead zone is, what I would do is I would go into a private match, or if you don't have Modern Warfare, go into Plunder, and just find an area, set this down to 0, and you see how I set it to 0, and I'm not touching it, and my guy is moving. This is drifting, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit options, go back to dead zone, and just bump this up to 2, okay? I'm still drifting, okay? So we're gonna bump it up even more to 4. It's very, I don't even think you guys can tell, but it is very, very, very subtly moving to the left, okay? So we're gonna bump that up to 6. It's not moving there. However, if I move my stick, like if I just touch it, it's gonna start drifting. So we're gonna bump this up to 8, and you want to just keep doing this until your guy starts moving. So I'm gonna go back to what I had it on, because I know that's what works for me. Again, this varies per controller. Some people have to have theirs cranked up to 0.2. A lot of people can have it set to 0.006 or whatever, okay? Horizontal stick sensitivity, vertical and horizontal. All right, this is your look sense. What I would recommend having this on is, I would have this on 6, okay? Again, sensitivity is subjective, okay? So whatever you feel comfortable with. If you're psychotic and are like Mutex, you can bump it all the way up to 2020. But a lot of players have this set to 6.6 or 8.8 or whatever. I would have this set no higher than 8, to be honest with you. It's whatever your preference, whatever you feel comfortable with, okay? Now the ADS sensitivity multiplier is basically, what this is whatever this number is multiplied by your overall sensitivity, and that is going to be your ADS. So whatever 0.66 times 6 is, that's going to be your ADS sensitivity. And obviously if it's set below 1, it's going to be slower than your overall sense. I play on a lower sensitivity because I like the ability to control my shots. I'll go in more in depth here in a moment on whether or not you need to raise or lower this. But this is what's comfortable for me. What that is if you aim in, that controls your sensitivity. A lot of guys play with it on 1.1 or 0.8 for both high and low zoom, whatever your preference. Okay. But now we're going to talk about recoil control, and then I'll throw a bot in here and I'll explain why you need to raise or lower your sensitivity. Actually, I don't need to throw a bot in here. I can just use like one of these targets. But let's talk about recoil control. Okay, we controller players have it a little bit easier than mouse and keyboard, because all we need to do to control our recoil is just hold one spot. Like, we need to find the sweet spot on our left analog stick when we're shooting and just hold it. Okay, mouse and keyboard players literally have to drag their mouse down as they're shooting. So all we got to do, for instance, this is the AMAX, and can we just say rip the AMAX, because unfortunately it's no longer a meta. But all we got to do is, when you're shooting, what I would do is I would use your left stick to control your left and right aim, so that way you're not having to worry about moving your right thumbstick for aiming. You can just focus on using your right stick to move it up and down. That way you're focused solely on controlling recoil, and you are using your left stick to strafe back and forth to kind of help with tracking. Okay, I started doing this, man, and I started hitting a lot more shots, and I also got a lot more accusations, because if I just hold it here and I do that, then my aim is going to be all over the place. Okay, whereas, okay, I'll just demonstrate here. Okay, so if I don't touch my left stick, not only do I have to worry about controlling the vertical recoil, but also with the AMAX, if I'm not mistaken, I think the AMAX has like an up and to the right. Okay, so it's kind of all over the place, really, but it goes like up and to the right pretty much. So with when I use the left stick to control recoil, I now only have to worry about using my right stick to control the vertical, because the left stick is going to help counteract that up and to the right recoil, if that makes sense. So whenever I do this, it looks like I'm hacking and have no recoil. So I just barely moved my right stick down, and you saw how much it put everything in the center. Okay, so there's that. Now, if you find yourself in a game and you are kind of like, if the guy's moving to the right and you're kind of shooting behind him, or if you're like shooting at a guy and your shots are all over the place. Okay, so if you're shooting behind somebody, or if you're having trouble keeping up with that person, then I would recommend bumping your ADS sensitivity up just a little bit. Okay, very subtly until you get comfortable with it, or until you're able to like hit more shots, whatever's best for you. If you are kind of all over the place and squirrely, then I would recommend bumping this down. Okay, the lower your sensitivity, the more you're gonna have to move your stick, but the more the more precise you're gonna be. But if you have it too low, then you're gonna miss shots because you're gonna be too far behind. So you want to kind of find a sweet spot that works for you. If you have this too high, you won't have to move your stick as much, but you have more chance of like whiffing your shots because it's so sensitive. So again, you want to find a sweet spot there. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know regarding sensitivity for controller. So yeah, man, enjoy. Alrighty, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'm not the best speaker, bro. I suck at like explaining things, but I'm trying to do these YouTube videos more often so that I can better myself as a content creator and also kind of benefit you guys. So if you got something out of the video, if this helped you, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Again, if you want to catch me live, I'm live over on Twitch Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Monday through Thursday, I'm 100% streaming Warzone. Fridays are a little bit different, but make sure to come by. If you want to find your way back, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure that the bell is on and set to all. But yeah, again, this has been the sensitivity video. Next video is going to be on movement, so be sure to stick around for that. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. And as always, don't stop being who you are. You're valued, you're loved, and I will see you guys in the next one.